years in jail. The night she was arrested, her father was very ill.
My dad was already in bed. I went to say goodbye to him. I also asked for my mother. We always pray before leaving home. There was one policeman standing guard beside her, and another one beside me. My mother prayed to the Lord, begging him to take care of me. Have mercy on my daughter. Let her live peacefully and bring her back safe and sound. May the Lord be with her. Then I left home and went to the labor camp.
During this harsh winter of faith, the land was frozen and bleak, but the wheat did not die. Underneath the ice and snow, seeds were struggling to take root, waiting for spring to come.
I was in jail for 21 years and 8 months in Heilongjiang province near the former Soviet Union. It was extremely cold there and a lot of people died. But you know, all those years I never got sick. Not only did I survive, I wasn't sick a single day. So I know God still has work for me to do.
The hardest part was that all the women criminals were locked up in one room, and it was too noisy to sleep. I also need to pray every day, or I can't sleep. So I waited until they all fall asleep, and I crept up out of bed and knelt and prayed to God. Every night was like this until I left the labor camp.
I had to pull the blankets over my head and pray. There was no Bible, but a hymn stayed with me. You know the one? The Old Rugged Cross. So I'll cherish the old rugged cross till my trophies at last I lay down. I will cling to the old rugged cross and exchange it someday for a crown. I sang it over and over to keep my spirits up.
The path of the cross was paved with humiliation and suffering. For those who chose to walk this path, every step was taken with blood and tears.
I was in jail for 23 years. If they had told me that it would last 23 years, I don't think I would have made it. When they held a public meeting to criticize and denounce me, they asked, "Do you still believe in God? Do you still believe in Jesus?" They pulled my hair and my ears. They punched me, knocked me to the ground, and kicked me. And they jerked my handcuffs and asked, "Do you believe? Do you still believe?" The handcuffs had made deep gouges in my flesh, which had started to fester. They hauled me away like this, back and forth, but I prayed to the Lord. "I have followed you as far as I can. Surely you're not glorified when they denounce and torture me each day. I'm your servant and your child. Are you glorified in heaven when I'm suffering like this?" In prayer, I entrusted my whole family to the Lord. Then I was ready to kill myself. But how could I do it with handcuffs on? When the two guards went for lunch, I jumped onto the bed and unscrewed the light bulb. I planned to kill myself with an electric shock. But the electricity wasn't strong enough. Later, people told me it was because I had handcuffs on. The handcuffs diverted the electricity and saved me. While I was in the middle of doing this, people from outside noticed and shouted, "Moses Shea wants to kill himself." The government officials called me out and lectured me. "You want to threaten the government? You want to make the government look bad by killing yourself?" At night, I confessed to God. I said, "Heavenly Father, I have fallen short of your glory. I have made it through 12 years of labor camp and endured a lot of suffering. Why couldn't I rely on you till the very end? I am not worthy of your glory. Please forgive me, O Lord." Then I heard the Lord speak to me, "Dear child, my grace is sufficient for you. Dear child, my grace is sufficient for you. And the third time he spoke so very gently, my grace is sufficient for you. The Lord comforted me, and by his grace I survived.
While thousands of Christians suffered in prison for the sake of the cross, the storm outside the jails grew even stronger. After 1958, the government closed down many churches in the name of unifying them. Of the 66 churches in Beijing, only 4 remained open. In Shanghai, 8 of 204 were left open. And in Guangzhou, only 1 of the original 52 was left. All of a sudden, it seemed that the Chinese church was withering. In 1966, when the Cultural Revolution started, the Chinese Christian church faced extermination. Priests were denounced, churches were destroyed, believers' homes were confiscated, and Bibles were burned. Even the 3 self-churches did not escape. Chairman Mao's wife claimed that Chinese Christianity was finished and belonged in the History Museum.
Everywhere you went, there were Red Guards. Everywhere you went, there were armed radicals. Everywhere, they interrogated you. Many faithful believers shed tears in secret while they waited and waited for light to come.
I remember clearly, on June 16, 1966, the largest poster they put out read, "Down with the imperialist running dog, missionary Zhang Yupei." I said, "I cannot change my belief in Jesus." They replied, "You stubborn idiot, go see your God." All the students came to the meeting, criticized and denounced me. From then on, they locked me in a cowshed.
I remember watching a Christian standing on a platform. They denounced him and called him a ringleader of superstitious people. There was an elderly sister in our area, and when she got on the platform, she called out, "Believe in Jesus. Do not fear death."
I was convicted of counter-revolutionary activities because of my faith in Jesus. I was forced to parade through the streets. They often held public meetings to denounce me. My whole family suffered the same thing, just because they were related to me.
Many churches were shut down. Missionaries were arrested or forced to wear tall dunce caps. Their hands were painted black, and they were forced to parade through the streets. Church life was completely destroyed.
At the same time, an idol landed on God's altar. When Mao Zedong stood overlooking Tiananmen Square and waved to the fanatic masses below, it seemed that he had captured the heart and soul of everyone in China.